saints, through our lady, through our Lord, we prevail. I'm in the middle of a migraine, a very bad one. I just wanted to do this video. I don't know what's going on with the VA, but apparently, people looking at their call center, apparently they're retaliating at the Saginaw VA. The Vet Connect, nobody wants to answer the phone. It would appear to me it's retaliation to make us veterans suffer. Apparently I'm not the only one who's investigating or complaining, because it's odd for an entire VA to not answer the phone, even the operator, which is people in the admin building or people in the police desk. That's unheard of. But my health always gets worse. But my fight is unhinged. It's not unhinged, untempered. Untempered. But doing this, I don't even know if this would ever hit Washington, but I hope that people in Washington, in the White House or in Capitol Hill, they're paying attention. Or down inside D.C., at some of the VAIG buildings down there. There's a lot of us veterans in HUD-VASH. Our health is declining. HUD-VASH is a failed program. Why can't you just give a voucher paperwork, give the voucher paperwork to the veteran, and then let them deal with the landlord? Gives them more power. A landlord that doesn't have a middleman is going to allow abuse or abuse a veteran much less likelier if the veteran's in control. You don't have to give them money. Give them the paperwork for the voucher. They sit down with the negotiation. They have their fair market rate range. That's it. The HUD-VASH program has ruined my life. And some of the malicious people in the program and their friends in the medical side, they're killing me. It doesn't change my fight. I come from a long line of people that God has empowered us with a fighting spirit, and we don't back down. Even in death. I should say, even in the last breath. Even in death, I can't really say for sure if people kept fighting or not. But, yeah, when these HUD-VASH people, they just pad their hours every day, Maybe one person, if you're lucky, seeing 20 or 30 veterans a week, if you're lucky. If you're lucky. So a veteran's lucky if they get seen once a year. They keep funding this program. Why not fund the veterans? I know social workers are, they're going to retaliate against me. They already are all the time. And they make little comments inside a veteran's file, or they make comments in person. And then they know other social workers in the community too. In any one community, there's 2 or 3 orgs that HUD-VASH is going to primarily work with. So, this is all done just like we do in intelligence and force protection. Interview or spreading of information or disinformation is done person to person with non-electronic means. So, this is how they target people. And then when they pretend like somebody is out of their mind, like one social worker told me, I'm really amiss to really believe that there's people organizing against you, and there's a lot of people in the world that are trying to sabotage you. That's the statement. Sounds like a very carefully worded statement to me. But Then in this, the same line of thought, a couple of conversations later, he says, "Oh yeah, you're banned from Michigan Works." Really? I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, you're banned, because things have happened. You can't go in their building. You're banned from the premises." I'm like, "Really? That takes an official act, a court order, to do such." I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." Yeah, so you can't use their resources. That's the key.
Not that you'd be wrong if you did.
So, yeah, I think HUD-VASH is a failed program. In these housing agencies that make money hand over feet, you know, they, it's always really rich people that sit on the boards, or it may be a rich person that sits on the board. And all the overage, all the after net, all the profit goes just directly to them as the CEO or whatever, or CFO. But the housing agents, even though their task was, they're supposed to be doing some sort of case management, they don't. One just told me the other day, "We don't get involved in anything between tenant and landlord. That's not our job. We just make sure the checks are cut and the rent's paid." Really? A HAP contract seems to say differently. In addition, so does the contractor contract with the state of Michigan or with HUD. That's something quite different. It's supposed to be advocating as well as providing case management services. Not comprehensive, it doesn't say that, but it does say case management services, which means if there's a problem, you're supposed to advocate for the veteran, not run and try to not get involved. And it really ticked me off that somebody's been trying to play themselves off as a good Catholic. It's a lie. I don't like that. That ticks me off. Somebody, they don't know about the sacraments, but they're advocating for certain, ultra conservative circles when they don't even know the sacraments. They mistake, Pentecostal ministries for sacraments. There's no deliverance sacrament. And they receive the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ? That's shameful. That's shameful. But these housing agencies, I say because of all of this, I may have to, relocate my child, just to protect them from everything happening, all the targeting, and that will cause great harm to our family. And this person suggests assisted living, or not assisted living, a elder kind of nursing home, has the audacity to recommend it.
What do you want me to say,
Horrible people, amongst their 200 identities. All of them stink of the filth of the devil. And so, I hope that this hits the right people. From what I've seen, and I'll testify under oath to anybody, White House, Capitol Hill, Veterans Administration, HUD. I have a very, very long memory. And as I've said in multiple videos, people's hair may change, the color makeup may change, they may have braces or not have braces, or have dentures or not have dentures. These minutiae things change. Their style of dress may change. But when I look at a face and I look in somebody's eyes and I hear their voice and I see their attitude, that never changes. I don't know if somebody is filling this area with instigators, or if it's because of the whole sex offender registry battle between the ACLU and the state of Michigan. I don't know. Or it's because the Michigan's Human Trafficking Task Force. I don't really know all the answers. Or is it because Michigan's a battleground state that QAnon wants to grasp for the Republican Party? Because this is now the QAnon Trump Republican Party. The Republican Party will never be the same. Never. Never again. I don't know what's going on here, and I know the millionaires are lining up. I've already seen them. I used to work for some of them. They're lining up to get control of the state of Michigan. Just like they're doing in Wisconsin. They've been doing it in Wisconsin for about 20 years. Just to get it for sure. They don't want it just in the local, state house, state senate. They want it all the way from the bottom up. Total control. But I don't get into political garbage anymore. It's too tiring. But, somebody should really look at these housing voucher programs. Are they really helping veterans? It seems to me like, some veterans, perhaps they have gotten a lot of, medical issues or psychological issues from their service or during service. Yes, that may be true. But from what I've seen the past 8 years, all they're doing is disabling us. Some of us to the point where we can barely walk. Some of us are emotionally exhausted. Some of our families have received irreparable harm that's going to take years of therapy. And all the while the VA is held unaccountable. Providers are unaccountable. And the veteran suffers. I'm disgusted with our VA system. I am disgusted. And the fact that people can weaponize housing vouchers and medical care, something has to change. I don't see anybody flying in on a beautiful white horse with a sword to save us. I think the problem is our politicians. And let's see the current administration really stand up and see what they can do. Or all they're going to do is cut budgets. Let's see what they can really do to help veterans. And the only veterans that matter are not just the ones who are already rated. There's also ones that are trying to get rated, that are trying to get better. We're veterans too. We want to get rated, get our care, get some kind of compensation for our damage, and then find a different direction in life. And then some have the same attitude I do. Once we're stable and once we know about our the best we can be medically, we're going to write that letter. I no longer want veterans compensation, but I will retain my rating. And then we will walk away. Please disseminate this so people around the country know, especially people in power. The HUD-VASH system is flawed. The housing voucher for homeless veteran system is flawed. Very flawed. It's hurting more veterans than it's helping. Just in the county of Saginaw, I can think of a dozen veterans that are on VASH vouchers. Some of them, they're being treated for medical issues. They have rent paid. Oh, that's great. But all that rent paid stuff does is keep them captive so they can be slowly killed. Or other veterans who are receiving care for drug addiction or other stuff, or maybe criminal stuff they're trying to sort out, get rid of their mess. And all the VASH voucher system does is keep them captive. Because they have no control. There's something to be said. When people are trafficked or enslaved, they have housing too. They pay for it in one way or another. The same thing is happening to us.